Okay, are we good on the screen?
Looks great.
All right, awesome. So, hi, I am Marin, and I'm a program manager here in the Excel team at Microsoft. It's nice to virtually meet everybody. And together with my colleague Rinling, we are going to be presenting on the area that we're working on, which is data analysis, intelligence in Excel. And we're going to be focusing in three topics, basically the why, the what, and the how. And for the why, we'll cover just what's the point, why would we even bother bringing AI or intelligence to Excel. Then Rinling for the what is going to be demoing the features that we've released in this space so far. And then we'll talk about the how. And for the how, we'll actually be talking about the Microsoft approach to AI, which is basically responsible AI so that we can be good in terms of ethics and privacy and other areas we'll go into. So let's get started on why bring artificial intelligence to Excel. And the first two areas I want to touch on are related to how the world is changing. And this is obviously more true this year than it's been for a good while, but there are some trends that have been going on for a while that still apply to 2020. And the first one is this explosion of data. Long gone are the days where any amount of useful information could fit into a floppy disk like that. Currently, information is doubling every 18 months. And this is not only true about big companies and big data. Data has become a part of our everyday life, from our financial data that has been around for a while. But these days, even when we exercise, many of us are using apps that give us statistics. And we're even using those data and statistics to compete with our friends just from wherever we are. And all of this data, collecting more data than ever before, we're running the risk of just being data rich, but insights poor. And this gets to the question of how can we process this huge amount of data to get the insights that really matter to us. So now shifting to the second area, which is very much related, there's this notion of there's more and more demands on our time. And there are many factors that come into play here. I'm not going to go into all of them, but definitely the amount of information we were talking about it plays a role here as well, because there is so much data, so much info that we need to sift through that eats away from our time. There's also interruptions and distractions. And now more than ever, as many of us are working and learning remotely, we're acutely aware of all the different ways that life can interrupt work and work can interrupt life. And these interruptions require context switching. And again, it eats away from our time. It takes a while to get back in the flow of what we were doing. So the question is, how can we dedicate our time, that very scarce resource, to what really matters? So those two were about how the world is changing. And even as the world is changing, there's one thing that has remained the same, and that is that Excel is a very powerful tool. And I mean, other than the fact that it keeps getting better, the underlying fact is still true. Excel is used for decision making around the globe. And this very conference, with its many sessions on how to do things better in Excel, speaks to the versatility and the strength of Excel, and also how it can be daunting at times, especially when you're not familiar with a particular area. I've been in the Excel team a bit over 2 years now, and I just keep discovering new capabilities that I wasn't aware of. And that is where AI comes in. We see artificial intelligence as uniquely positioned to act as a bridge between this very powerful tool and what people need to get out of it. So by coming along at the right time with the right results, AI will unlock the power of Excel for more users so that more people get more out of Excel and get more out of their data. And now let's talk a little bit about in what ways AI can make all of this better. When we look about the vision for AI in Excel, definitely, and getting back to what we were just talking about, saving time and effort is just the top item we're going after. When we apply intelligence to tasks such as data summarization and visualization, you can get the results that you need faster. And it allows you, again, to focus your time on what really matters to you. And then, especially by bringing AI into data analysis space, we're also helping with that issue around overwhelming amounts of information. Reelning will demo the ideas feature that can analyze your data for you and provide you with relevant insights and trends so that you can, again, just look for the most important pieces. And now we also have this new feature rolling out, natural language queries, where you can just ask the questions that you have about your data and just get the answers right there. So good news is that all of these AI can help you, even if you don't have prior experience using such effective functionality like pivot charts or pivot tables. So we're lowering the bar of entry, which also can help save time because you don't have to dedicate so many hours to just becoming familiar and learning more about certain areas. And then one of our aims with AI is to provide you with better results that you can feel confident about. By enabling you to use the right tools for the task, you can get better outcomes, and that will lead to better decisions. So just to give a very basic example, if you're using a refreshable pivot table, that will reduce the chance of error to, let's say, if you were just using repeated sorts and filters to try to summarize your data based on some particular angle. And then this last one gets better over time. That actually talks about the nature of the tech itself. And one of the characteristics and the benefits of using machine learning approaches is that you can connect them into a feedback loop to create a virtuous cycle based on user signals. So basically, the more people use it, the better it gets. And then here at Microsoft, we do this in a way that respects the user privacy. And again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. So now that we've gone through all of the promise of AI in Excel, I'm just gonna pass the baton to Ringling, and she's gonna be demoing, again, how to discover more about your data with ideas, how to get the right charts in the web, and also the new feature that just helps you get the answers for the questions that you have. So Ringling, you wanna take it over?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep, we're good.
Awesome. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. And let me know when you can see my screen.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. So hi, everyone. So now that you have heard Mar describing our vision of AI in Excel, I would like to show you some example of how you could leverage the AI-powered capability in Excel to get your job done faster and better. So now pretend I'm the sales manager of a company called Northwind Traders. And every month I would put out this report that describes how we're doing and discuss what are the big wins and what are some of the big opportunities. So now I'm just in the progress of making this report. And as you can see, I already started putting down some of the informations. Now, the first step I would like to do here is I would like to create some visualizations for the data I have put together for category and region. So for that, what I would do is I would use recommended charts. Now, recommended charts would help me to pick up the best visualization for the data that I have here. Now, something to mention is unlike the desktop version, this version of recommended charts is powered by the latest AI technologies. So it would better understand your data and it will also get better over time. So after running it, you can see that it has suggested a bunch of different visualizations for my data, including pie chart, column chart, bar chart, and donut charts. So I would like to draw your attention particularly to this outlier chart. says category confection and beverage have noticeably higher sales. Now went beyond the normal visualization in the way that it also conveys insights. You can see that here we identify category confection and beverage as outliers, and we have colored them in orange to show that. And we also have formatted the title to describe the insights that we have found here. And so by browsing through this list of different chart types, I decided to pick the pie chart because that's what my manager usually likes in the report. And here goes my first visualization. And now then I would like to look at this region breakdown data and run recommended charts again and pick the best visualization for that. And here you can see I have a bunch of bar chart, column chart. I have a histogram for sales. That could be interesting, etc. So here I'm going to pick sales by region as a column chart. Now, I would like to actually, as comparison, insert another column chart with the insert chart feature and put them side by side. As you can see, the version inserted by recommended charts is more visually pleasing in several ways. So first, the title here, sales by region, it better conveys the content of the chart. And then we also automatically added sales and region as axis labels. And lastly, we kind of adjusted the width of the bars so it's easier to read. So overall, recommended charts strive to recommend the best default chart types and the best formatting so that it can help you to minimize the amount of editing you need to do afterwards to make the chart look polishing. Okay, so I'm going to remove this less pleasing one. Now, now that I have created the different chart types for the data here, the next thing I would like to do is to grab the top transactions to highlight the biggest wins that I have got for my sales. So here I'm going to go back to my raw data. And normally I would just do sort and filter and grab the data. But here I would like to show you a different way to do this with the natural language functionalities in ideas. So I would run ideas, and you can see this box called ask a question about your data, which allows you to ask any question in natural languages about your data, and you will get an answer just like that. By clicking into the box, you can see there's a bunch of sample questions illustrating what you can ask. Now here, I would actually like to get my top transactions. So I would ask top transactions by sales in 2011, because I just want the latest year. And actually, I not only want the top one, but I want actually top 5 transactions. So here we go, you'll get the top 5 transactions. But I would like to get a little bit more details in these transactions. So what I would do is I would add in product and category in here. So I would get more information about my top 5 transactions. And here we go. I will copy this into my report. So boom, here it goes. Now I have my big wins. The last thing I would like to do is to showcase some of the opportunities we have to improve sales. And to do that, usually what I would need to do is to go to my raw data, and I will need to try many different ways to slice and dice my data in order to get the interesting findings from it. But instead of doing that all time consuming practice, I would like to just go back to ideas here. And as you can see that it has a lot of out-of-box suggestions that showing you different kind of interesting facts about your data. To start with, I would like to take a closer look at this pivot table here. Now, if you don't use pivot table today, it's a really, really powerful tool, and you should really consider using it. And as you can see here, you can just get a pivot table with a single click by just running ideas on your data. So now you can see here, this gives me a detailed breakdown of the sales by category and different years, and breaking down by different regions. Now, this could be really useful as a detailed breakdown information. If somebody in the meeting asks me some particular question about what happened in a particular year, in terms of some detailed breakdown, then I can bring up this data and look it up right on the spot. So I think it's a really useful piece of information. I would name it details, and I would put it in my report as a reference. Okay, and then as you see, I'm looking further into my data here, and I'm seeing a bunch of results about ratings and some about sales. I'm actually not that interested about ratings, so I would like to just take that out. So what I would do is I would filter out ratings and updating my results. And now you can see all I have are results about sales. This is great. And then what I like to do is I would browse through this list of results, and this particular results jump out to me. Product Grandma's Boy's Boundberry spread sales decrease over time. I wonder what is happening here, and is there something I could do to stop it from decreasing? And if I keep looking, I saw chocolate had a similar trend, and some of the other product had a different trend where it goes down and up again. And if I keep looking, this particular result is very interesting because I actually found this product has sales increasing over time. So why does these two product sales move in the opposite directions? Maybe if I put them side by side and start dig deeper into it, it could help me to identify opportunities to actually improve my sales. So, okay, I'm going to insert this one as well. And so for time's sake, I already put the results here in the report. As you can see that I integrated these two findings into my opportunities section. So as you can see here, IDEA can suggest better ways to pivot or visualize your data to derive the insights that you haven't even thought about or take a long time to get to. Now, the last but not the least, what I would like to do is, now that I have seen these results, I would like to ask some more questions to dig deeper into these findings. So for example, here, I see this product, Grandma's Bounceberry spread sales decrease over time. I wonder if this is a trend particular for this product, or it generalized for the bigger category. So what I want to do here is I will ask the question, what is the category for Grandma's Bounceberry spread? You can see that this is a really long product name, and I really appreciate the fact there is autocomplete here that helps me to complete the product name. And as you can see, I got the category is condiments. Okay, so now I'm going to ask sales over time for condiments. And as you can see, the category condiment sales is also decreasing over time. So this does generalize to the bigger category. And now I wonder, is this because the product Grandma's Bounceberry is the majority of the sales? So I would ask here, what are the top best-selling products in category condiments? Oh, so I see. So this Grandma's Bounceberry spread is indeed the top-selling product, which explains why the decrease of sales in that constitutes a decrease of sales of the overall category. But I wonder if that is the only reason. What if there's something else that's causing it as well? So I'm going to ask sales for condiments product over time. Now, when I say condiment products, natural language would automatically understand it means the product of category condiments. So when I insert this result, as you can see here, I'm going to make this a little bit larger so you can see. So it's not only Grandma's Bounceberry spread, but there's also the Shenzhen Shuru product that also decrease over time. And these two are, since these two are the top selling products, that explains why the overall category has decreased in sales. So this is great. You can see that I can just keep going here and dig deeper and deeper into different findings. And now the last thing I want to show here is, you know, I can also ask the question about different results on this report. Now you see here the category confections is the best-selling category. So I wonder if this is actually the trend for all the different years. So what I'm going to ask here is top category for each year. So I'm going to insert this here. And as you can see, it has pulled out the best-selling category for each of the years. So it is confections for all the years except 2011 that it became beverage. Now I can quickly go validate that by going to my details tab, where you can see that for 2011, the best-selling category is beverage, but every other year, the best-selling category is confection. So that validates the answer here. So yeah, so you can see that natural language really simplify the process to from questions to answer. And as a result, you can focus on the what aspect to really dig into your data, while Excel will do the heavy lifting to figure out the how. And last, I would like to mention that the functionalities of ideas and recommended charts that I showed today are available in Windows, Mac, web in 6 different languages, including English, Chinese, French, German, Japanese, and Spanish. And natural language is available in English to start with, and then we're working on expanding it to more languages. Now, thank you very much. That concludes my demo.
Great. Thanks, Rinling. So let's go back to the presentation. There we go. So now you get an idea of what we're talking about in terms of the features where we're bringing intelligence in this data analysis space. And now I want to go back to the notion of how we're applying AI to a product like Excel. And it's actually stepping back a little bit and talking about how we approach AI in general here at Microsoft. And to sum it up, there is this mission statement for the AI area that says that at Microsoft, we're committed to the advancement of AI driven by ethical principles that put people first. And I added a link here at the top, and I'm going to actually open it up because in this website, they actually go into more detail about these principles. And I'm going to be talking about reliability and privacy and transparency, but there are other very, very important principles like fairness and inclusiveness and accountability that are particularly important because how AI can reflect the bias that exists in the data. So again, this is a great resource if you're interested in the artificial intelligence space. You have here more information on, there's videos on the principles, there is more information on approaches, there are cool stories from how we're applying these, and also just very good perspectives from the top experts in the field that we have here at Microsoft. So going back here, the principles I wanted to touch more on today were these three, and I want to start with privacy. But I'm actually gonna start with a disclaimer, which is that I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not gonna go into details on how it works. I just wanted to highlight how seriously we take this at Microsoft. And there's another link here, which is to our privacy statement. It's also available through the ideas support help article. It's also, you can just search for it. And there you'll find more information on how we approach user data, and also the privacy controls we offer for intelligence services, like the ones we build, where we are analyzing your content and using that to provide you with experiences. So, said I'm not a lawyer, I don't want to sound like legalese, so let me just add a personal note. When I look at the landscape of companies working on artificial intelligence, I'm just very happy and proud to work at one where the commitment to privacy and to responsible AI in general is so high. And at times I need to remind myself of this because it can mean a lot of work. And there is infrastructure, there are privacy reviews, like there is a lot of things we gotta do to make sure that we're always following protocol. But again, just thinking even as a consumer of these products, just for me and for my family, when we choose what companies were okay providing access to our data, Microsoft is just up there. Cool, so that was about privacy. And now the other two items, transparency and reliability and safety, are very much connected. And I'm actually gonna start talking about reliability. And I'm going to start with a confession. That's not going to shock anybody, which is that artificial intelligence isn't perfect. It doesn't always get everything right. And that's why we make it a priority to ensure that it's safe and that it's reliable. And these are obviously important concepts in critical areas, such as when you're building self-driving cars or health applications. But they also apply to Excel because, as we mentioned before, Excel is a tool for decision making and is used around the world to drive decisions. So related to this, there is the notion of transparency. And the gist of it is that the clearer it is for the user how the system made a decision, the more they can spot errors when they appear. And then the more they can build trust. For instance, if I see a movie recommendation and the system tells me that it thinks I'm gonna like it because I like this other movie, I can quickly check and see whether I actually like that movie or it was my family who thought it was great and I thought it was very bad. And then I can make a decision about how much I'm gonna like this new recommendation. So these can sound a little bit like high-level topics, but we actually distill all of this into what we call designing for AI. And designing for AI is different than designing for other software features, just basically because of the nature of the beast. Artificial intelligence is probabilistic by nature. And basically, in a very basic way to put it, is just a machine extracting patterns and then using those to predict what's going to happen. And that means it's sometimes going to offer poor results. And it's going to do that in an unpredictable way. Basically, it's not going to blue screen. It's not going to crash. It's just going to give you a recommendation like any other. Again, if we go back to the movie recommendations, you'll probably realize right away that you're not going to like it. Or worst case scenario, it might take you 20 minutes into the movie to see, oh, this is not something I want to watch. But when we work in Excel, just the bar is way higher than that because people just expect Excel to be exact and accurate. I mean, it has a calc engine, so the bar is just in a different level. And that is why we follow these guidelines. We don't want to say, like, again, going back to natural language queries, if you just ask, what were my sales last year? And we said $1.2 million. How would you be able to tell whether that was the right answer if we didn't provide you with more information? So that's where these guidelines come to the rescue. Actually, let me also show you. There is this car. I know it's a lot of information. There's no need to go into details at the moment. I just wanted to highlight that they apply to 4 different times on where the user is going to be working with the AI system. And these are, it's not a checklist, it's just more principles that we can use when in the best way that apply to our features. And they are divided in what happens at the beginning. This is about setting the right expectations so that the user knows what they're getting into. Then what happens during the interaction, and that is where being contextual and mitigating bias becomes very important. Just matching social norms, but not introducing the biases is going to be critical in this stage. And then there is the part about design for being wrong, which is what I'm going to talk a little bit more about. And then the last one is going back to these things that it gets better over time, how to remember the interactions, how to learn, how to provide controls, like Renlin was saying, like I care about these columns and not about these other columns. So we bring all of these into how we design our features. And I wanted to actually show you these 2 lines, how we set clear expectations and how we work on design for being wrong. And I want to apply them to the natural language queries features that Renlin was talking about earlier. So this is a different set of data. This is just some book data from some publishing houses. And I'm just analyzing it. And the first thing you see here is that in the input box, it says, ask a question about your data. And again, this goes back to setting clear expectations. We don't want you to come here and just say, how do I build a pivot table? Or say, how tall is the Eiffel Tower? Unless you happen to have data about tall buildings. So we're trying to really show to you, hey, this system is about questions on your data. You can get a lot of value out of it, and this is how you go about it. And that's also why we're showing these suggested questions that Renlin also showed, just to inspire. You can say, what's the most common thing? You can ask for totals, for charts, percentages, sorting, and it just gives you an idea for what things this system is going to be good for. So let's say I'm asking, which is the most common publishing, and then it tells me the top publishing brands based on cell count, and this is something I can insert. But let's say, actually, I mean, I wanted the top one, but I wanted to see how they related, how it related to the others. So going back to that principle of supporting efficient correction, there's 2 ways you can go about it. So you can just come here and say, show me top 3 most common publishing branches, or since we are in a pivot table, you can just clear the filter and just get the results. So there is several options for you. Let's go back to the data and let's see, you actually want to say, who wrote the worst selling book last year? And here what we're going to be doing is we're showing you how we are mapping how we interpreted your answer. So basically we're saying, we're showing you the author, and that's good because it matches your question about who wrote. You don't want the editor, you want the author. So far so good. Then we have the book ID, good, you want it about the book. And then we're saying the book that's at the bottom by total sales. And again, that's how you can tell, oh yeah, they got the worst selling part. And then last year, we tell you that we mapped that to 2019. And that is typically more useful at the beginning of the year where people, or maybe it's only me, might be confused about what year they're on. And so what we're doing is just being transparent about how we are mapping and interpreting the question so that you can at a glance figure out whether we got it right or not. But so far I've shown you cases where we're basically understanding everything you're typing, and that's not always the case. So let's say you ask, what is the best rated book for each section? And here we're saying top book by average of rating. Again, that's good, but what about the for each section part? And what we're doing here is that we're striking through that word, and hopefully you realize, oh, wait, we call them section, but here in my data it's actually gonna be category. So let me use that word, and then I get the answer that I wanted. There you go. But then it's not always the case that if we strike through a word, it's gonna be wrong. So for instance, oh, here I misspelled 2 words, so let me just correct that. If you ask what's the best rated book ever, we don't understand ever, but it doesn't matter, we still can help you with that. Oh, and then one way that we also help prevent those errors before they happen is the autocomplete that Rinling was talking about. So if you have something like percentage of sales.com from children books, you can just select the one, and then it increases the chances that we get the right answer. And then the last item I wanted to illustrate was that card from the guidelines that said scope services when in doubt. So let's say that you want what's the most popular. In this case, you use title. We are not able to match title to book ID at the moment. And then you ask for popular, but we don't know if you meant popular in terms of rating or popular in terms of sales. So in this case, since we aim at increasing the confidence, if we're not confident enough, we just choose not to give you an answer. Again, we give you other suggestions of things that you might want to try, but we are just, you know, not wanting to introduce confusion into the work that you're doing. So that is how we are introducing these concepts of design for being wrong. We are obviously also working on improving the overall system and just improving the quality, but this just helps us make sure that we are introducing value as we continue to iterate. And since this is the area that I'm working on, let me finish with a cooler answer. I'm gonna just ask sales category and publishing branch as now let's say as a stacked column chart, and there you get a very cool pivot chart that you can reuse. And then the last thing I want to mention is, as you're hopefully familiar with, if you go to the help tab, there is this feedback button, and you can send us a frown, send us a smile. We're regularly looking at customer feedback, and this is always very helpful for us to help us improve our projects and our products. So, oops, let me go back to the right slide, and thank you. Again, please try it out and send us your feedback. And now I guess, I don't know if there's any questions. Oh. Cool.
If you're at the question stage, Margina, while we're waiting for anyone else to ask any questions, I've actually got a couple of questions in relation to some of the stuff that you've presented, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So the first one that crossed my mind was that Ideas currently works with tables in Excel. Is there a roadmap to extend that to the data model by any chance?
Not at the moment. At the moment, we're working with tables. It also works with ranges. So we're actually focusing on just kind of messier forms of data to make sure we're helping kind of the beginner users getting into the space. So going deeper into the data model, that will be more something for the future.
Cool, sounds good. And the other question that I had is something that relates to the bit that you were just looking at in terms of trying to help correct errors and how to learn from them. I know Oz yesterday ran a session on joins using Power Query, and one of the topics that often comes up is what happens with fuzzy matching and the sort of confidence levels that you get with the fuzzy matches. At the 90% level, you get some pretty accurate results. And then at the sort of 50% level, if you actually want to match everything, you get some really questionable results. And there doesn't feel like a good way to kind of feedback what's working and what isn't working. Do you have any views around how that sort of feedback loop could be improved? Or is there a feedback loop, in fact?
Oh, that would be for Power Query. I'm not very. Oh.
That's a Power Query team specific thing, you mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Ringling, if you're more familiar with that space.
Sorry, can you repeat your question about the Power Query?
That's all right. So I was questioning whether the fuzzy matching that's used in Power Query, if it's using a similar AI-driven kind of approach to doing the fuzzy matches at differing levels of confidence, whether there was a way to kind of have the Power Query AI kind of learn from the errors, or for users to be able to feedback what works and what doesn't work in the fuzzy matches.
That's a very good comment. I think currently we are doing feedback loop in the sense where we are learning from like the usage of the feature of ideas and recommended charts, where we sort of learn what the user liked, what they didn't like, what did they modify, in order to make the suggestions more relevant over time. That being said, we are not actively looking into the data from Power Query, but I think that's a really good point, or something that we should probably look into.
Okay, sounds good. So I'll take that up with Guy Hunkin later on when he does his session.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, like the talk was initially called intelligence, and then we changed it to intelligence for data analysis, and that's the main area that we have started working on AI. But definitely, when we look at overall Excel, we see a lot of potential for these approaches. So yeah, it's great to find more areas where we can apply them.
Sounds good. It looks like we still don't have any questions, so I'm not sure if people are just a little bit delayed on the stream, or whether everyone's just blown away by a lot of the insights that you've gone through. So yes, thank you for switching the slides up. For those people who are here and paying attention and still awake, Marginez has put up the evaluation slide. You've probably seen this plenty of times already, this event so far. So please take a screenshot, click the link, follow the link, and let us know what you thought of this session. It's really useful feedback for us and for the folks at Microsoft as well to work out what interests you. All right, Marginez, was there anything else that you wanted to sort of add in the presentation? Because I mean, you've still got the floor for up to 10 minutes if you like. Otherwise, if you want, we can wrap up a bit earlier. I
think I'm good. Ringling, anything on your side?
I know. Thank you, everybody, for coming today.
Oh. Thank you so much, and yeah, reach out if you have other questions.
No worries, thank you. The Q&A is still available for anyone if you want to continue putting questions in there. I'm assuming Marginez and Renling will be happy to kind of answer them as they come in if it's not too delayed. In the meantime, let's see, we're going to start preparing for the next session.